Now on RSN's Racing Ahead, welcome to the Ego Hour.
Alf Matthews and Ralph Horowitz join me in the studio. Gentlemen, what a quiet week or so we've had in the world of racing.
Gee, they say it happens and every Saturday's different, and, you know, a fortnight is a week in racing, and it's unbelievable. It's so exciting.
I reckon this is the Ego Hour. Did we see some ego on Saturday in Sydney?
The aptly named Theatre of the Horse should be the Theatre of Singo from now on.
Yeah.
Anyway, we always ask for buys and sells and all that. Given what we've already got down on Twitter and all that, we'll try and squeeze in some on-track racing talk. But we are the people's show, are we not, Shane?
We try to be. 0416 90 50 52 is the SMS. Email racingahead at rsn.net.au or Twitter at Global Gallop, at RT Ralphie, at Jockey A, or at RSN Sport Radio. Giveaways today, of course, the Eureka Skydeck Award for Contributor of the Morning. I'll also be giving away at some stage throughout the show, so listen in. You'll need to call in on 1300 652 927. A double pass to the fantastic race day coming up at Flemington, a Greenfields Race Day, so stay tuned for that. If you want further information on Greenfields Race Day, go to the website flemington.com.au.
Shane, we've got another prize. John Single just said the second best tweet of the morning can train more joyous. So it's just come through there.
It's time for the buys and sells. Guy, ringing the bell. Alfie, off you go.
Well, there's an abundance of them, isn't there? But I'm going to start off with Anzac Day, because you just had to buy Craig Williams for his Anzac Day quaddie. His suspension, unfortunate, but nevertheless, and good luck, because he's leaving our shores to Japan, and because of the suspension, he can't start until next Sunday. So, Craig, all the best, and you left us in good form. I'm buying Patrick Maloney. Love the young boys, and this boy is the ultimate athlete as far as I'm concerned. And can he ride? For his win in Adelaide at Gawler last week, Anzac Day, for the Apprentice Series, he got the prize. And just to throw in a couple of extra winners, he rode a double to end the week yesterday at Sale. He is in good form at the moment. Patrick, keep up the good work, because you've got it. I don't have any queries about that at all. I'm buying British Racing for moving so quickly on the Mahmoud Al Zarouni. Mahmoud Al Zarouni. 8 years. Geez, is that tough? No. 8 years for anabolic steroids?
No, depends where you go for those 8 years.
Exactly. I don't think you'll be going home.
We'll talk more about that later, but the rules are significantly different.
Yep.
And
no worries.
The biggest stable in the world, he's brought them into disrepute in many ways.
Spot on. So anyway, they moved pretty quick. So they did well there. I'm buying John Petard. Now, John's the owner of My Benz and Yosse. Now, I was so thrilled with his horse of My Benz, fantastic. And Yosse ran so well in Adelaide in the Group 1 race too. But it was nice of him to even mention the fact that his eventer had just finished in front after the dressage at a show in Sydney. So I'd love to know how you finished up, John, with your eventer. I'm buying Tommy Berry, first day in Hong Kong. It doesn't get any better than that. Group 1 status for John Moore. Wow, that is big stuff. A special buy for Maybe Discreet in Adelaide, the Australasian Oaks, Philip Stokes and Dominic Tournier. On speed, Ralph, you'd like that. And they can get 2,000 metres when you don't think they can.
They'll catch on that.
It always races there. However, and I'm buying a guy that I really do think will make the grade. And that is son of Mark Sam Kavanagh, Midsummer Sun, and his gutsy purchases internationally and getting them back here to perform very well indeed. There's many other buys of, all too hard, absolutely outstanding. There is no question about that. England, there they go, and we'll be looking forward to it. I've only got one sell, and it's not really a bad one either, because Matt Stewart mentioned it in the paper, but he didn't tell us what it was. Going to the break after My Benz was the victor at Caulfield on Saturday, the choice of song wasn't appropriate. Are you old enough? Whoa. By Dragon.
0416 90 50 52 is the SMS email racing ahead at rsn.net.au or Twitter at Global Gallop, at RT Ralphie, at Jockey A, or at RSN Sport Radio. Look, I'm getting to the stage where we're going to have to pre-record this segment so I can sit there and edit appropriately. Ralphie, off you go.
Oh, yes. Lots of buys, lots of sells, some big action, big talking points. Like to buy Dean Yendall and Daryl Cannon for winning the mile maiden on Origato at Stawell last Monday. It was its 19th start. There's no particular reason, but Alf normally starts off with something obscure off the top for his buys.
You've said it wrong. It's arigato.
There you go. But you normally pick out the most obscure thing you've seen for the past week off the top, and I missed the memo that that's how we meant to start. So there you go. By Group 1 winners, we'll go punch them through. Guelph, Moran, Reliable Man, All Too Hard, Platelet, Maybe Discreet, well done to all concerned. Buying Craig Williams, as Alf did, for his quaddie at Flemington. He's just getting his eye on Craig. I think he's got a promising future. Buying that the racing industry didn't get a share of the millions of dollars of losses from punters who backed Toy Deeney, It's a Done Deal and Snitzerland. Those that know best went to court to not get a share of bookies' profits. And aren't the bookies laughing their heads off? My sells, I'm selling Paul Batar, the head of British Racing. Very good man, but in his interview last week about all this drugs controversy involving Godolphin, he used the word anomalous, or was it anomalous? That's too big a word. I had to look it up what it meant. It's a sort of deviating away from the
Of anomaly.
Of anomaly, yeah. So that's ease yourself for that. Just use smaller words, can you, Paul? Yesterday's mass scratchings for a track upgrade at Sale. Now, fair dinkum. I mean, at the end of the year, when trainers and jockeys and owners want more money, prize money increases, what Racing Victoria do is they look at their budgets. That doesn't help turnover when things like that happen, so that needs fixing.
Took me an hour to delete all the messages.
and lots to talk about, but I'll go this will be mine, Shane, with... you at the top went with how Australian racing's drug policy needs to be brought into line with international standards, and they do, but for Australian racing, it needs to be brought into policy in line with other sports to have respect in an area far more important than the international arena. It's right here in Australia amongst the wider community. I'm not saying that Chris Waller wasn't entitled to be cleared under the rules of racing, because he was, but I am saying, and this is fact, and this has got through, that under WADA rules for human athletes, Chris Waller would have been suspended, and the likes of Arenosa would have been suspended for 2 years. Just as racing had to drag its antiquated backside into the new era in regards to the use of whips by jockeys and jumps horses regularly snapping their legs, this sport, our sport, needs to reflect what society demands to keep respect of the wider public. As such, the drug policy needs changing, whether participants like it or not.
0416 90 50 52 is the SMS. Email racing ahead at rsn.net.au or get involved in the Twitter discussion at RT Ralphie, at Jockey A, or at RSN Sport Radio. You can go to me direct at Global Gallop. All right, boys, let's get some of the rubbish out of the way first. I want us to, because that's what it is, Singo v Gay. It's very Sydney. It's
yes, very Sydney.
The way it's all erupted over the last 48 hours. Look, as I said in my introduction, if John Singleton, he's made some serious accusations here, if he wanted to go about this appropriately, he would have gone to the stewards. But instead, it's become a media circus, and this is where racing could find itself in a lot of trouble.
Well, I'm staggered that the media circus that you refer to, Shane, hasn't been covered in its broader situation, which is over the past... It's ramped up in the past week, but it's been happening for weeks now, is that Peter Fitzsimons, who's a very well-respected... and widely read sports journalist and other writings, not just in sport, even though he represented Australia in rugby, has been waging a campaign against Tom Waterhouse. And Tom Waterhouse is being seen as the bad guy, and to be honest, rightfully so in this area, and that is, all of a sudden, he's an expert on Channel 9's rugby league coverage. Yeah. Fair dinkum, I spent 9 years at Channel 9, and Kerry Packer would... to use a cliche, be turning in his grave at that decision. There is no way known in a month of Sundays, Kerry Packer, who's such a genius in TV, would have allowed that rubbish to occur. And by rubbish, I mean to have a clear sponsor being seen as an expert on a footy panel. And then, so this has given Peter Fitzsimons ammunition, and lots of others, by the way, to say, you've reached a tipping point, pal. You and your whole ilk. So now all the sports betting's been tarnished in that situation. And there had to be a tipping point, just as at the MCG, where we're being flooded at quarter time and half time with those type of advertisements, and they've since been taken down. Kids are sitting there watching a game of footy. They don't need that. So that's the broader picture, Shane. And I have no doubt that this isn't a big surprise, because, as has been stated as fact, John Singleton's people looked at more joyous that morning. They had the right to scratch. They could have scratched.
Correct.
So, to me, it's just too much of a coincidence for
It just-
this not being part of the wider picture of this wider controversy.
It just goes to show, what were they looking at?
What?
What were they looking at? They were there looking at a horse. Would they know?
Well, their vet, it was John Singleton's vet and his racing manager. I'm sure they've got some idea.
Okay, it looks okay. What has it been on? What's it been given? Let's find out first.
But
You know,
Alf, you've been inside stables and you've said this
Yep.
before plenty of times. All the information doesn't always get out.
course.
Now let's highlight something that can't be bigger in racing. Black Caviar in England. Now, since then, Peter Moody has said they were on the verge of scratching it. Did anyone in the public know? People were having very serious large bets. Ultimately, when you're having a bet, and this is not having a go at Peter Moody, it's the opposite. When having a bet, you say, I respect that trainer. I trust that trainer. I trust that trainer with its good horse. That is what this sport's about.
when I design a market,
Yeah.
I design it, this horse will perform to its best.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that.
And part of your market, tell me this, and you know it's true, I'm not going to name names, but you know it's true. Part of your market, when you do a market both with jockeys and trainers' capabilities, you factor that into their
Of
performance.
course you do.
Well, Gay Waterhouse has got a fair record in Sydney big races.
Yep, but something's obviously happened for them to have an inspection in the first
Yeah,
place.
well, she's admitted that. There
And-
was heat in the horse's neck on Thursday, which they were assuming could have been a spider bite.
But
so
they
the horse,
inspected Black Caviar in England too,
Yep.
Alf. So what I'm saying is you got to compare apples to apples here.
Sure.
Great trainers, all trainers in fact, need to be trusted with their horse. And if they make big mistakes, well then they're entitled to what ends up happening is as an
But
over
aside
two,
from that-
you're entitled to get a
Aside from
trainer.
that, I would hate to have been Nash Rawiller getting on that horse given the circumstances prior to.
Yeah, exactly. But if Singo's making accusations,
Mm-hmm.
there's elements of insider trading going on through the Gay Waterhouse stable of trainer passing on information to a bookmaker, her son.
Yep.
That is massive, and I don't think
Yes.
it has been presented appropriately. And it's become tabloid scandal when the reality is it's actually a legitimately serious issue that he is raising, if he is raising it appropriately. Now, it should have, in my take on it all, if what happened on Saturday, there was an element of theatre about it, Singo being mic'd up, Jerry Harvey being mic'd up, they were great mates going hammer and tong, more joyous fee all too hard, these two billionaire businessmen who got great opinions and, will create great theatre. Well, I don't think it has. And I think if Singo was legitimate in his belief that there was something fishy going on, he should have gone to stewards first, and it could have been handled a lot more appropriately along the way, particularly in this climate where racing's copping a serious whack.
You can't have had 3, maybe 4 decades of success in the media, advertising is media, Alf, that John Singleton's had, and be considered naive. So on the day, anything that happened involving him and things that he said, did, acted upon, he can't use the defence of naivety because he can't be naive to have had that much success.
Well, he gets his opportunity to actually name who made the allegations.
All right, we'll see how